Welcome to Reality TV Cringe. I am one of your hosts, Delia, and I am here with my real tight homegirl and my daughter-in-law, Beatrice.
It's me.
It is raining tonight in Texas.
It is storming.
You have your astigmatism and you're all worried because you have to drive over here. And so I'm just praying the entire time, please make sure Beatrice is safe, God.
I know I'm driving like a grandma over here. People were honking at me and I'm like, I can't see.
The weather is totally changing. I know nobody cares about our weather, but in Texas we care about our weather because it was so freaking hot this summer. And it's going to be like a high of 46 on Monday.
I know, I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, we're going to be like real people.
Finally.
Now, before we get into this episode, we want to remind you, we got to give you a disclaimer.
Every time.
Hide your wife, hide your kids. This is an offensive podcast. We have stupid opinions. We say a lot of swear words.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're sensitive, because there are some comments from people who are very sensitive.
Get the
And if that's you, this is not the dumpster for you.
Yeah.
We're just trying to have a good time and wild out. And if you can't appreciate that, beat it.
Peace out. Also, we got an Instagram at Reality TV Cringe. Go follow us there. And we got a Patreon. Patreon.com/Reality TV Cringe. We got so much bonus shit up on there.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Anything you do, like with our videos, any sort of activity you take, it helps us in the algorithm and it helps us to grow. And by the way, I think we just hit 1,000 people on YouTube.
I know, we're famous.
That is so exciting. Thank you to all
so
of
much.
our subscribers. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into the episode, is there anything that you wanted to cover? I thought there was a comment or something that you wanted to share from our Patreon.
Yeah, we do have an interesting comment.
Okay.
A little question posed by Tammy, one of our fellow raccoons on Patreon.
Hi, Tammy.
Thank you so much for supporting. So she reads, she says, do you think Kim was having an affair with Ken before he became Isaac's instructor, and that's why they had hired him? I just wonder if she hadn't been having an affair for a long time because she didn't fucking mourn her marriage. She was in no way torn. She's made this decision way before the actual event. Which would be
That's an interesting question. So I'm not sure. I think there was something on one of my Google alerts that put together the timeline for Ken Palmer, and it looks like he was divorcing and or divorced right before he got with Kim.
Oh, that's sus.
But I'm not really sure what that means because we don't really know when he got with Kim. If he was maybe with Kim for a little while before Kim broke it off with Barry, which is what I personally suspect.
Yeah.
That they were seeing each other for a while.
That's what I'm thinking too. So do you think that she knew Ken before Isaac knew Ken though?
I don't know.
That would be interesting. But I mean, it just seems like they've been together a little bit longer than what she's putting on TV, because in this episode, she's like, I've got to tell the kids. I've got to introduce them because it's very serious. And I'm like, I thought you guys were only dating for like a month or two.
Why is this a big deal?
Weren't you just asking him in last episode, am I your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Do you like
what
me?
are we?
Yeah.
Are we formal?
So I don't know. I think they've been together a lot longer than we're
I definitely
seeing.
think so as well. But I'm not sure if it was before Isaac met him or not.
That
Could
would be terrible.
I really wouldn't put it past her.
I mean, I
honestly.
wouldn't either.
Yeah. Good question.
God.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments.
Yeah.
There's some shady things happening in the Plath family, people. All right, let's get into this episode. Welcome to Plathville, Season 5, Episode 8, entitled The Winter of Our Discontent. God. People are not happy.
Especially Ethan and Olivia.
Especially Ethan and Olivia. And we open this episode with Kim and most of her children heading over to a Christmas tree farm somewhere in Georgia and picking up a nice big tree so that they can celebrate Christmas for the first time ever. What did you think of this?
This was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kim's motivations are for this. It seems like she's framing it like, well, Barry's the evil one that said no to Christmas and I just went along with it. But now that I'm divorced, I'm going to do Christmas with my kids. But I'm like, you still chose to not do Christmas with your family, with your kids, and rob your kids of that experience. But whatever. That's cool. It's kind of wholesome to get some trees and walk around. Mariah's outfit, though.
What are you wearing
What are you
in a
wearing?
Christmas tree farm, lady? I don't understand.
Like, why do you always got to look like some weird vampire character?
Totally. You know what really bothers me about this, though, Beatrice, is that both Barry and Kim grew up with the benefit of Christmas
Yes.
and holidays, the magic of Christmas and presents and all of those traditions. And then as soon as they got married, they stripped their own kids of that celebration. That doesn't feel fair.
No.
They also dated. Kim was also a hoe.
And she was drinking.
She was out there having fun. Barry was drinking, but then they locked down their kids so harshly.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think that's really lame. And like, I don't understand the whole rationale for not doing Christmas as a Christian. Like, I get that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th, whatever. But my nanny was like a diehard Christian, and she would make a birthday cake for Jesus on Christmas every year just because that's just what she did. But we still celebrated Christmas. Like, what's the big idea?
I think Christmas is what you make of it.
Yeah.
It's what you intend to focus upon and celebrate. And I think that what they're connecting this to is the fact that this was originally a pagan holiday. I think specifically it celebrated Mithras, who was kind of a Jesus prototype, a deity before Jesus. And a lot of the Jesus lore is actually mirrored in the tale of Mithras. And so they're making the connection insofar as the church swept in, co-opted a pagan holiday and turned it into a Christian holiday.
Oh, I see.
Which, of course, the church did with Easter and other things as well. And so maybe Barry primarily took the position that they weren't going to celebrate a pagan holiday because it's not actually Christian.
I guess that
But I
makes
mean, calm down.
Just like,
it's not that deep.
I mean, for real.
Just have fun. Get a
Just
tree.
Get presents and hang out with your family and eat fudge. Like,
Right.
that's all it really is.
Like you were able to do.
Right.
I just
Seems
don't
so lame
understand.
to me.
So they find a very tall tree.
Yeah.
And strong Isaac cuts it
know.
down. They put it in the truck and they head on over to Kim's apartment. And then we bop on over to Victoria, Minnesota, where we have Ethan and Olivia and CJ and her sister, Lydia Grace, having Christmas.
Yeah. And it's cringe as fuck.
It is pretty cringy.
I mean, because Olivia gets CJ a butt plug
What?
as a gag gift.
Why?
I'm like, I don't understand. Like, okay, you're a weird Christian former fundamentalist. So you think that this is funny, but it's really fucking awkward.
Yeah.
Like, really awkward. It's a giant black vibrating butt plug that she gets him. And of course,
Can I
Ethan's
request
like
that for
uncomfortable.
Christmas from you?
Yeah,
Thank
I'm gonna get you
you.
one with a blue bedazzled jewel.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I know you like butt stuff.
I do love butt stuff. Thank you. But yeah, like it was just very strange. But
Yeah.
her reasoning for that is that CJ likes sex jokes just like Ethan does. But then Ethan's very quick to say, yeah, well, I actually don't think that's an appropriate gift
Yeah.
to give to somebody, especially somebody that we don't really know. And this is where Olivia gets defensive and
She
she's like,
does.
well, then it sucks to be you. I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I have a sense of humor, Ethan. Sorry, you don't. Sorry about it.
Yeah, I guess you think I'm weird, but I'm not. So whatever. I'm like, oh, chill out.
I know they are not doing well.
No, they are not.
You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Then Olivia and Lydia Grace fiddle and piano.
Cringe as fuck.
Fiddle and piano. And I'm just thinking about you living in an apartment complex
I know.
next to other people. And on Christmas morning, they're hearing your fiddle and your piano. And
You're
I'm like,
out of
this
tune
is
fiddle.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
You got to think of other people. It's not all about you, Olivia.
That makes me think of my neighbors in my apartment complex who used to have a big ass drum set and they would play it on the weekends. And he was really bad. He's like this old man. He's fine, whatever, but he just plays the drums
A drum set?
loudly.
On the weekend, not
On
in
the
the
weekend.
morning, though. Like not in the early morning.
No, in the morning. Yeah, and
I
during the
would-
day.
Become homicidal.
Oh, I was so pissed. He finally packed it up and he's like, oh, I can't play my drums. I'm so sad about it. I'm like, I'm not.
Is it because you turned him in?
Yeah, I did. I normally don't like to snitch, but it's like, dude, I want to just chill out in my
How
apartment.
inappropriate is it to have a drum set and then be drumming it on Saturday morning
Come
at like
on.
9 a.m. when you're
For
trying
real?
to sleep? And that is ridiculous.
It was absurd.
I would have been murderous. Then we get to the part where Ethan makes blueberry pancakes for everybody. And
Again, cringe.
as a joke, because he's a man baby and
Yes.
so terribly immature,
Yeah.
he selects one pancake and he puts like chicken seasoning pepper in it.
Yeah.
And it just turns out that Olivia gets that pancake.
I feel like that was low-key on purpose.
I feel like he gave that to her absolutely intentionally.
Yeah. I would be kind of pissed, though, about that. I'm like, don't mess with my food.
Right.
Like, it's fine. I get you're trying to be, like, funny, but Olivia was like, fuck you.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
There's nothing funny about that. And I'm thinking she's wondering if he's doing it on purpose and why he's singling her out. And I think that there's still holdover resentment from the donut debacle of last episode.
Totally.
Where, again, Ethan did donuts and she got scared.
She got triggered.
Traumatized. And they had a fight about that.
Yeah.
Then we go back to Cairo, and Kim and her kids are now decorating the tree. This was a boring scene.
Super boring.
Superfluous. Been there, done that.
Yep.
But they put the tree up. They had to get fishing line. They put a lot of things on it. None of the kids understood what anything symbolized. They were just trying to have fun. And you have Lydia, of course, saying, I don't really get how this is supposed to amplify and glorify Jesus Christ, my Savior, and the heart of the Father. I don't understand it. But whatever, it's nice to be with my family.
She's such a daddy's girl. Like, totally parroting what he's saying. Meanwhile, Barry is alone, sad, by himself in the big old house in Cairo.
Eating a lettuce sandwich.
Like a good human will do.
Right.
Trying to emote, beep, boop, boop, bop. And Micah's also alone. He's driving to some mountain
Mammoth
in California. He's going to go snowboarding by himself on Christmas Day. I'm like, this is depressing.
Yeah, everybody's apart. But again, the family has never really celebrated. So it's not like necessarily like they're missing something or like this year we can't be together. It sounds like every year they didn't do anything. It's just another day.
Right. Another day. But I mean, it seems like they're kind of picking up on the collective, like, oh, it's supposed to be family time. Like, I don't know. If I was them and I was some weird fundamentalists, Southern Baptists that didn't get to celebrate any holidays because my parents thought they were evil, I would feel super lonely in the world of today. Like, and not saying that anybody who doesn't celebrate Christmas is an outlier or anything. That's like totally fine. It's just, this is the time of year for people to hang out with their family. And I mean, regardless if you have a toxic family or if you don't talk to them or whatever, it's still kind of isolating no matter what your situation is. So I just felt like there was a little bit of error to that. And like, no matter what Barry and Micah and all of them say, I feel like deep down they still kind of feel sad about it because they're not hanging out with their family.
And when you think about how much foundation they laid for this family to be together and interwoven together, and after the kids start getting older, Kim just explodes it to bits and now they have nothing. It's really fucking sad because they really put their children through their paces. In other words, they made their children sacrifice a lot. Conversely, they gave the kids a lot in terms of like practical education, learning how to do things in the world, but they sacrificed a lot, the kids did.
Yeah.
And for what? Now you're just going to start with these traditions because you can? And Kim's like, well, I feel bad. You know, I wish I could have done it with the older kids, but you can't do anything about it now. So say la vie, carpe diem.
God.
Like, that just feels hypocritical and bad.
And just kind of insensitive. It's like, it's really shitty that you put your kids through all of that. Now you're trying to make up for it with the younger kids now that you're a divorced single mom and you're living your best life.
I'm out here living my life. Thank you.
Nobody cares.
She was also wondering whether this would be a good time to sit all of her innocent children down and tell them that she's fucking Ken Palmer.
And the answer is no.
And he's banging her back out. And she's coming into her sexual ownership. I'm feeling myself sexually. And so is Ken Palmer. And so she's wondering if this is the time. But then she decides, no, I'm going to wait to do it 1-on-1 or 2-on-1. She's particularly nervous about Lydia because Lydia has a certain idea of what marriage is because you indoctrinated her.
Hello.
And Lydia has certain judgments around morality and what is right and what is wrong because you indoctrinated her.
Yep.
And so now Kim is going to have to tell her, like, I'm not formally divorced from your father, probably for reasons of money and so that she can get a better deal. But I am getting my back blown out by this guy, Ken Palmer, who's also Isaac's flight instructor.
And
so
a family friend.
A weird incestuous kind of relationship that's been happening for a while. And I think Lydia's going to know. I think Mariah's going to get a sense of exactly what Kim has done. So she's nervous about it.
Yeah, rightfully so. Because it's still too soon. Like, you're not thinking about
Right.
how your kids are going to feel. Like, yeah, you're saying, oh, I'm nervous to tell them, but I feel like it's the right time. It's like, well, maybe not, though. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe you just divorced from Barry. You just moved out. It's only been a few months or
They're
maybe
not
a year.
divorced.
They're not even divorced.
They're not
but
divorced
like,
right now.
you're separated, right? You just got separated. Maybe chill the fuck out a little bit.
Yeah, and think about your kids and what's the best thing for them.
Yeah.
Not just waiting for the perfect opportunity to destroy their lives more.
Seriously, Kim.
I can't stand her.
She's the worst.
This is when we go over to Mammoth Lakes, California. And again, Micah is spending Christmas alone. He's driving into the mountains. He's looking for some new powder
Yeah.
to snowboard on.
So cool.
He's going to be spending the day doing that. And he's excited about it, but he's kind of thinking about his family.
Yeah.
He said Christmas kind of snuck up on him because he doesn't really celebrate it, but he's thinking about Ethan. He's thinking about Mariah. He's wondering how they're doing because the problem in the family has not been resolved as of yet.
Yeah. And so he goes to call Ethan. He's like, I'm going to see if he'll answer. And shocker, he doesn't, which is pretty shitty.
It's very shitty.
And then he goes to call Barry and he's like, hopefully he'll answer. And it's just ringing and ringing and ringing. And Micah's like, please don't be an Ethan.
Right.
And then he picks up right at the last second after he made his human sandwich.
Yes.
And they go to talk. And Barry's just like, yeah, I'm having a chill alone day by myself. It's pretty quiet. I've been pretty busy, but whatever. And he just seems so nonchalant about it. But I'm like, are you feeling the loss, though, a little bit of your family? Because everybody's hanging out with Kim and having so much fun. She's the cool mom having Christmas celebration now. And I don't know. I just feel like he's sad.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's sad. I'm also noticing how generous he is with Kim.
Yeah.
Because if that were me in this situation and my partner of that long left to start banging another person, I would not be as gracious as Barry is. And so
way.
like he didn't get to spend, for example, Mercy's birthday with her on her birthday. So Kim wanted that. So she got it. And now here it is Christmas and Kim wants the kids and she's got it. And so he's trying to be a very decent person.
Yeah.
And even as Micah is talking to him about Ethan, how he tried to call Ethan and, you know, things are still a little weird after the post that they made on social media. He then brings up Mariah and how Mariah still has Ethan blocked and they haven't resolved their shit. Instead of like inserting himself into the drama, he's just like, look, I really hope you kids resolve it. I'm just going to lean back and let you guys figure it out for yourself and pray for you. And I hope it works out.
Yeah, total dad thing to say. And then in his talking head, he's like, you know, I just think about it like, well, time keeps marching on. And I just hope that I get to see one day their reconciliation and that they get back together. But I can't do anything about it. I'm like, man, must be a hard thing to see as a
You gotta
parent.
let go. Yeah. And you just have to trust that they'll figure it out on themselves, that you did a good job raising them with the right kind of values, and they'll want to be together at some point in the future. Just give him time and give him space. So I respect Barry for that.
Me too.
And that he cares.
Yeah.
Unlike Kim.
Right.
Now, for the last part of this episode, we go back to Victoria, Minnesota, and we have like a couple of scenes with Ethan and CJ going off to a cigar bar to have man talk.
Bros.
And then Lydia Grace and Olivia hanging out in the apartment to have marriage talk, in which Lydia Grace proceeds to put a lot of pressure onto Olivia to dump the fuck out of Ethan.
Yep.
So let's start with a cigar lounge. They head on over there and they start kind of talking about Ethan's marriage. But before he starts getting into that, he does tell the camera that he's a little nervous about Lydia Grace being in town, that she's kind of a sneak behind your back person, which I thought was interesting. And he's worried about what kind of influence he's going to have over Olivia. And I'm like, you should be worried.
Oh, 100%. And when he said that, I was like, oh shit. So maybe Lydia isn't as innocent and genuine as we thought. And I was thinking to myself watching this, like, okay, if Olivia is as manipulative as we believe she is and as we see her to be on the show, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Lydia Grace to be this sneaky, conniving person behind the scenes messing with people's relationships. So I was like, oh,
well,
shit.
She had to teach herself how to lie because, of course, she was the black sheep and the rebel who wanted to date around and not necessarily a forgiven rebel, not necessarily wanted to follow her family's rules. So she trained herself in the art of lying. So, yeah, I thought that's an interesting insight into who Lydia Grace actually is. I think Olivia knows this about her.
Totally.
Their scene in the bedroom having this talk felt very produced to me.
100%.
Like there's a producer who is guiding CJ and Ethan into the conversation and a producer that's guiding this conversation. And I'm wondering at whose behest, meaning like who wants this conversation to take place? Is it Lydia Grace because she's worried about Olivia? Is it Olivia because Olivia wants to start to set the stage for at some point uncoupling from Ethan? Because I kind of got the latter vibe.
Oh, totally.
What about you?
I think it's totally Olivia producing herself. I mean, just like looking back on the comments on social media before this season ever came out, when she was trying to debunk the divorce rumors when everybody knows it's fucking true, and she's producing herself and trying to keep the peace, so to speak, before everything comes out. And then we have this whole scene when it's been building up to this about all their differences and how they're kind of at an impasse, and she's got to be an individual and find herself, and she's got to be very independent. I'm just like, okay, we're leading up to you leaving Ethan's ass.
Right.
And this whole conversation with Lydia Grace is just a PR stunt for you to try and take some of the heat off of you because you were such a bitch in season 4. Won all of the seasons.
And 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, like all of them. But like, it's totally trying to work out in Olivia's favor. And it's really not, in my opinion. But whatever. She can think it her way.
I don't know. There were passing moments where I felt like maybe she was being introspective, like really when she said, for example, that I believe two people can have differing opinions and beliefs and values, but that doesn't mean they can't be together. It doesn't mean they can't work together. It sounded to me like somebody trying to convince us that they're thinking about sticking it out and staying in the relationship anyway versus just giving up. And then there was that on the couch interview where she talked about the last time they separated. And she said that the entire time was not filled with independence and my hot girl summer.
Yeah.
It was intense pain. I was really fucking unhappy. And then she said, but if it were to happen now, I don't think it would be the same.
I would feel different.
I would feel different about that.
Because she wants out. I don't think she's actually having the introspective moments. I think she's been wanting out for a while, and that's fine. Like, you're entitled to leave this marriage if you're not happy. That's fine. But to put on the air that like you actually do care about the relationship or that you don't care that you guys have these differences, I think is really shitty of her. Because just last episode, she's talking about some of their differences, like with Faith and everything. And like, I don't think she's okay with that. I think she wants him to think and act and behave the way she wants him to think and act and behave. And if he doesn't, then they're not going to work out, because I think she's pretty controlling.
That's interesting, because I actually think that it's Ethan who expects her not to change, because he even said in his conversation with CJ, he's like, I'm never going to change. I am set in my ways at 24 years old. These are going to be my values for the rest of my life, which is exactly what a 24-year-old person would think and say. But it feels to me like he wants her to continue to be the person that they agreed she would be when they got married. And so that's what's causing friction. And I can see why, because they entered into a covenant to have a certain kind of a union.
Right.
But that is certainly naive, and it's never going to work because you married when you were 20 years old.
Of course.
And she's going to grow up, and so are you, and you're going to have different experiences, and this is going to carve out a different kind of a personality. This is just the way life works.
Right.
But Ethan doesn't want that. I thought the conversation in the cigar lounge was pretty interesting.
Yes.
Like some things that were said, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because Ethan said specifically politics, homeschooling versus public schooling. He does not want to send his kids to public school, which is kind of wild to me, because he's really pissed off at Kim for not making sure he had an education when he was homeschooled.
I know. So maybe a part of him understands that, okay, well, maybe my parents had good intentions with trying to homeschool me, even though it was shitty, but I'll do it better this time. So maybe that's why he has that conviction.
Right.
And didn't he also say they have the issue with Faith?
Yes, they were on the couch for that.
Yeah.
Olivia was saying something like, I think religion and faith set the trajectory or the course for our relationship.
Yeah.
But I am not currently with him because of religion or faith. I'm with him because I choose to be. And then Ethan countered by saying something like, well, I actually think religion and faith has a lot to do with why we're together. And she's like, I disagree. And he says, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And she said, I can disagree with you.
Yeah, I'm allowed to disagree with you.
So he has a problem with her disagreeing. That's his problem. She's like, I'm cool. I have a different opinion. He's like, yeah, that's a problem for me, that the cornerstone of our relationship isn't faith and religion.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I can see his perspective, I guess, just because I'm not Team Olivia. But I also see Olivia's side of things, like where she's like, I'm choosing to be with Ethan because I want to be, not because our religion dictated or anything. I think where Ethan was trying to come across was that like, well, we had that shared belief. And so now it's kind of a problem for me that we don't anymore. And I mean, he's entitled to have that opinion. I mean, if he wants to have a mate that believes the same things as him, he's entitled to that just as much as Olivia is. But I think Olivia intentionally wants these differences because it just proves to her in her mind and justifies her reason for leaving. Like, oh, well, we differ on all of these things. I've changed. I have grown. I've become a better person. So I'm going to leave you ass.
Yeah, I think a lot of what she's doing is virtue signaling and
totally.
trying to persuade the audience of what a good progressive person she is versus these Cro-Magnon Plaths and even my husband. But at the same time, Ethan is so emotionally stunted.
That's fair,
like,
yeah.
He plays the stupidest jokes that would piss you off and piss me off. He doesn't know how to communicate. Although he was saying some things in this episode that I thought were pretty conscious and enlightened. Like, you know, this is the story of our life as the pages are turning. And I thought him calling their early dating life precious.
I know.
And lovely, and telling the stories of how they got together and how they met. Like, I feel like he truly does love her, but at the same time, there's this cap to what he's capable of.
Right.
Like there's just this limit to how he can be emotionally available to her. And she wants all of it because, of course, she's a vampire and a parasite and a barnacle. Yeah. She wants to suck all the life force out of him. And he's unwilling to give it and doesn't know how to give it, even if he could.
But he's also young. I think a part of that comes from their age. I mean, they're like 12 years old. Like, they are so young and so immature, both of them. Like, no matter how much Olivia tries to put on this facade, like, I'm so mature and enlightened and so smart. It's like, bitch, no, you ain't. Right. You have like barely lived any life. And I'm saying that as a 27-year-old. I've barely lived any life. I don't need to sit here and act like I know what I'm talking about either. I don't. But I don't know. I just think that there's no reconciliation here. Like, they're not going to be able to come to any kind of agreement because anytime he disagrees with her, even if he's trying to be kind about it, she's super defensive and then he becomes defensive and he doesn't know how to fucking communicate his emotions. He's a big old man baby. But then he says things like that in his talking head of like, if I had a choice to do all of this over again, I would, and I would always choose Olivia because of how our beginning was. It was so precious and great. And I'm like, Olivia, he loves you though.
Yeah, but I really, really identify with Olivia in some ways. Of course, not in the toxic ways.
Obviously.
But, like, I was married to my first husband when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And so I was a baby. My brain was not fully formed legitimately. Right. For real. And he was my first true love. I fell in love with him hard, girl. Yeah. But I ended up leaving him when we were together for 8 years. So I think I was 26, 27 when I finally began to leave him. And it wasn't just about leaving a husband, leaving a lover. It's like leaving your family, all that you know. Like, you came into your own adulthood with this person by your side. And we're kind of seeing that a little bit with Kalani and Asuelu, I think. Yes, yeah. Because Asuelu's Kalani's first and they started this family. It was the first time for her and for him. And like, to let that go, that's a big fucking deal. Totally. This is all she's ever known. And she even mentioned that she doesn't know what she's missing. Yeah. Like, I've never been doing anything else but this marriage to Ethan and this life. So I have no idea whether I want something differently. And Lydia Grace is like, well, are you going to regret it if you don't try? Because Olivia's saying, what if I regret leaving and walking away from the love of my life? And Lydia Grace is like, well, what if you regret don't leaving or not leaving?
God, it's like the angel and devil on your shoulder, like telling you which way to go. But I just felt like Lydia Grace's role in all of this, even if it was a produced moment, was kind of inappropriate, because if we believe the whole storyline that Lydia was supposedly an estranged sister for the last 4 years, and they had no contact until recently after Mariah dumped Olivia, then is it really appropriate for her to be having this conversation with Olivia, acting like she knows all the ins and outs of their relationship?
Absolutely
That's where I'm
not.
just like, come on, Lydia.
But
like,
then again, she saw her sister melt down because she wanted to get out of the truck and Ethan wouldn't stop the vehicle. And she saw
I guess.
Olivia spin out. And it sounds like she's got a little bit of bad blood with Ethan from the past, and also Mariah. And so maybe she has an unconscious or subconscious agenda that she's running with Olivia because she doesn't want Olivia to be with Ethan or the Plaths.
That's what I think is going on here. I think she's been wanting them to leave. I don't think she supported their marriage from the get-go. And now she's got her in. She's like, okay,
right,
gonna manipulate you into leaving him. And Olivia's like, you don't need to, because I already want to leave him.
Meanwhile, on Instagram this week, I think there were pictures of both of them traveling around the country, having a great time, spending time together as sisters. Of course, no trace of Ethan.
Of course.
Because our suspicion is that Olivia left him months ago. He's still in Victoria, Minnesota, but she's off gallivanting and finding herself and enjoying this separation a lot more than she enjoyed the last one.
I mean, go off, queen, I guess.
Any final thoughts on this episode?
It was kind of juicy. I mean, like, the whole Ethan and Olivia stuff is really interesting to see and watch them have these struggles that a lot of young couples have, where you have differences of opinion and you're both growing up together at the exact same time. So there's going to be that friction as you both come of age. But I don't know. I just think this whole Lydia Grace thing and Olivia thing was so scripted, and it was really gross to me because Olivia, just last episode when we saw the clip from the preview of her being like, well, I'm not comfortable with Ethan going to the bar with somebody who's disrespecting my marriage. Meanwhile, you're literally talking to your sister who's disrespecting your marriage and telling you to leave your husband.
She's 100% a hypocrite.
It's really shitty to me.
Right.
Meanwhile, when Ethan and CJ are talking at the cigar lounge, he's saying nothing but kind things, really. He's just like, we have differences of opinion, but like, we're still trying to work it out and try to figure things out. Like, he's not talking shit about her. He's not talking about leaving her. He's talking about her in almost a admiring way.
In fact, he's like, I can't wait for 6 months or a year from now and Olivia spending time around my family that absolutely loves her to see what the positive effects on our relationship will be.
Yes.
Which means that he's bought into what she's been selling him all this time, which is it's your family.
Yeah.
It's them interfering in our marriage. But now that they are alone and they have optimum conditions, she still is not happy because the problem is you, Ethan. The problem's her.
Totally.
I mean, she's selfish. She's self-absorbed. She's always been that way. But the problem is also you.
Yeah.
She does not want to be with you.
Right. And it's really sad because he also says, like, I love that we got married young, because it's like getting married to your best friend and you just, you know, grow together and have this really close bond. And I really felt that because I got married to your daughter really young. We were babies and we're best friends. And it's like such a great union. But when you're in a relationship like Ethan and Olivia, where it's been toxic from the start and it started off on, you know, indoctrination bullshit, and they both were super young and just kind of groomed into this whole like, get married young, be fruitful, multiply, and be Southern Baptists forever. It's like, I understand why they're having this turmoil, but it's just kind of unfortunate for me to see it for Ethan, because I think he is like a Swelu, where he's like, I want it to work and I love her and I genuinely care about her. But Olivia's like already one foot out the door.
He's not willing to actually better himself. He's not willing to actually try something new and different. He's expecting to stay in the same old rut, in his same old level of development and spirituality and education, and that Olivia will stay with him there and be fine with it. And it's just not how life works, unfortunately. He's going to learn that lesson. Let me ask you a question. So now that we think Olivia's gone, and she's been gone, I think, for a few months now, do we think that she's regretting leaving Ethan, or do you think that she's happy that she's gone? Do you think she'll try and come back too?
I think she'll probably try and come back.
Yeah.
I think she's not regretting it right now. I think she's living her hot girl summer and living her life, and maybe she'll bang a couple dudes or girls, whatever. I don't care. But I think there will come a point in time where maybe she'll see Ethan happy and finally moving on, and that's when she'll try to reinsert herself into the to the mix. That's what I think.
That's why I was really wondering what she thought when she saw the photographs of Ethan at that bar and that she bartended at with some young little brunette pretty chippy. I wonder what she thought about that and whether that's going to change anything for her, because I feel like she thinks she has all the power in the relationship. And she does have a lot of it, but if Ethan moves on, it's game over.
Yes. That's what I think she's not wanting. I think she wants him to be unhappy and alone from his family and single because she's toxic. I think she really is that toxic. And the second that he moves on, she's going to try and manipulate again. And I just hope he doesn't fall for it. But I think he's really stupid and naive.
I think he loves her.
And I think he loves her. And I think he will fall for it if they try to get back together.
This is a relationship that she's going to carry with her for the rest of her life. That's how important it is. But I honestly think that she should leave. I don't think that they should be together. I think Ethan needs a different kind of woman, a trad wife, if you will, which Olivia doesn't want to be. And that is okay.
And that's fine.
But the question is now, like, is she going to come back to the show? Because I really, really think she likes fame.
Oh, totally.
And notorieties and maybe the money. So she's going to want to come on the show. But like, under what circumstance can we bring her back if she leaves?
Dude, nobody cares about her. But I think there's so many pro Olivia stans that people would actually want to see her on the show still, which I don't fucking get because I don't give a shit. If she's not with Ethan and not in this family, then why is she on Welcome to Plathville? If she wants her own spinoff, fine. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it.
I'm not going to watch it. Nope.
That's fine.
Nope.
All the Olivia people who think for some reason that she's an angel and not toxic as fuck can go watch that stuff.
Go off, queens.
That's fine. But I don't know. She probably will still try to be on the show somehow.
Maybe dating life for Olivia and Ethan separately. I heard that Micah is seeing some girl, I think in Florida, some real estate agent who's somehow Ariana Grande is involved in this relationship, and I'm not sure how, but like, so there's a new relationship that might be coming into the family that might make this interesting next season. But like, if Kim and Barry break up and Ethan and Olivia break up, why do we need to have this show? Like, what's going to happen next season? Nothing.
Nothing at all. Unless we get to see Barry date. I would like to see that.
Oh, I would like to see that as well. I do not care at all about Kim and Ken.
Not at all.
Palmer. All right, so the preview for next week, we have Micah talking to Ethan, and Ethan is tired of the drama, and he just wants to move past it, which is code for, I do not want to actually have a conversation and heal this through my words and actions. I would like to pretend that this isn't happening, and rug sweep.
Yep.
We also have Kim telling Mariah and Lydia about Ken Palmer, that she's getting her back banged out. And Mariah doesn't support it.
Nope. I wouldn't either.
Doesn't support it.
I wouldn't either.
And then we see Olivia telling Ethan that she has opened her life and her marriage to his family for years, and she's not going to do it anymore. Ethan wants resolution, and she says, you cannot force me to do anything I don't want to do, bitch.
Okay, fine. If you don't want to talk to my family, that's cool, but you can support me in talking to my family.
Right.
If you want to have that boundary and not be around my family, that's totally fine, and I won't bring them around you, and I won't invite you to family functions, but don't get mad at me for spending time with my family then.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just my opinion on that.
Well, I look forward to watching that next week. Of course, we'll be covering all of the remaining episodes. I think there are 5 left.
Yeah.
I think there are 5 left. So I think it's going to take us through most of November.
Probably, yeah.
So that's awesome. All right, this is a great place to end because, of course, we still have to talk about 90 Day Fiancé, The Last Resort. If you are watching on YouTube, is my wig falling off?
It is a little bit.
If you are watching on YouTube, we release the video for 90 Day Fiancé in like an hour or two after this one. Definitely come back for that because we let loose a little bit more. It's not as serious and Christian all the time.
Heart of the Father.
So hope to see you there. Bye, guys.